Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. So, I went, I took the cap off the end of this and went to turn the motor around. And the motor turned partially around. That's normally indicative of jumping time, and then it's, hitting a valve. So the next thing I did is I loosened the valves up completely, right? And then I turned it around and it was hitting something, but the valves were loose. So I'm like, what's with this? So, you never really want to push on it all that hard, because if you are up against the valve, you could be damaging the piston, damaging the valve, damaging the head, destroying yourself. But once again, the valves are intact. I can see the followers there and all. So, I pushed up against it and it seemed to budge a little. Then I went around the other way and pushed up against it and it budged a little. And then back and forth a couple of times. And I had the spark plug out, obviously. And it puked all this, all this purple looking stuff. Right? I mean, you could see it all over the back of my truck. I mean, it made it all the way over here, right? I even got some on my jacket when it puked. I mean, it just like, you could see it running down the head and you could kind of see the color of it. So, but it went around. And since then, get the pencil out of there, right? I could do complete revolutions. The next thing I did is I made sure I was at top dead center. And in both cases, the followers were loose at top dead center, which is the way it should be, right? Both your valves should be closed at top dead center. So I'm not thinking this thing jumped time. And as a matter of fact, as I send it back and forth, it doesn't seem to, the valves respond in a way such that there doesn't appear to be a lot of play in the timing chain. You guys could see the color of it. So I'm not quite sure what they put into it, what that purple stuff is. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with any of that. There was a little ice, right? You could kind of see it up against that bolt there, and you could see some chunks right there. So there was some ice in there. But I'm beginning to look at this and say, maybe this motor is just fine. I mean, could I be that lucky? Can Harvey be that lucky? So, once again, I don't know what this purple stuff is. Maybe some of you guys know. It kind of smells a little bit pepperminty. You guys kind of, I don't know if you could tell that it's purple. Yeah, it kind of smells a little pink, purple transmission fluid, but it doesn't smell like transmission fluid. It smells like peppermint. I mean, if anybody wants to come and taste it, you could show right up and give it a nice big lick, right? Boy, I wonder if it's poisonous. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the story on it is, but I might have just lucked out with this engine. Normally for me, if I could avoid taking an engine apart, I do that at all costs. I mean, if you have to, you have to, right? If it's obvious that it dropped a valve, you got to take the engine apart. There's no wishing and wanting and dancing that's going to get the engine fixed. You just got to tear it apart. But generally speaking, I do my best to not pull them apart, and particularly I really do my best not to take the covers off. Sometimes you have to if you're messing with the stator or the pulse generator for this one. I mean, not too bad. But what I avoid like the plague is splitting the cases. And the reason why, when you take the cases apart, especially if somebody was in there first and maybe screwed things up, as you're sliding them apart, a lot of times some of the gears follow this half and some of the gears stay in the bottom half, right? So as you're sliding them apart, pieces are falling. And once again, you're not quite sure if the person before you messed it up. And if you don't have an exact diagram showing you where every shim and all that stuff goes, it's hard to put them back together correctly. You might get it back together and you might have some functionality, but to put it back together factory fresh, kind of hard to do. And I want to go a step further. A lot of the times when you split the cover, because I know one of my subscribers has been chatting with me on it, he can't seem to get them to go back into place. Well, there's an easy reason for that. Some of the shafts have a keyway in them such that they have to rotate and drop into place. And you might be saying, oh, I checked all the shafts on the bottom, everything dropped into place. But is there something on the shaft that has to drop into place on the top, right? Is one of the shafts keyed such that it has to drop right into place? Or are the transmission gears exactly where they have to be? Or the transmission drum, you know, that thing that you turn that slides the forks to change the gears, is that in such a place that it won't let everything drop back down? I have experience splitting cases, and I even have experience putting them back together. And recently, I've even managed, well, recently, in my elder years, I even managed to put one back together that functioned 100%, and I think I actually did get it factory fresh. But not trivial, not easy to do. So unless you have to go in there for some reason, I recommend staying the heck out of there. And unless you're getting a bike cheap, as in, you know, I'm only paying scrap prices here, you really want to avoid going into a transmission that somebody fooled around with already. This particular bike, I mentioned it belonged to Tough, T-O-U-G-H Motorsports. I don't even know if they exist, right? This is the story I was told. And it was raced, right? You can see the magnesium swing arm, and there were some racing front components that he actually bagged out of the deal right before he sold all this. The oversized heavy-duty rear axle. I mean, look at that monster. So, I'm thinking if they were in there, they might have had a clue of what they were up to, and they might not have done a bad job. Though, if you look at the gasket there, where you split the case, even the other gaskets, they look, you know, pretty fresh. So either somebody did it right? You don't see any blue death, red death, black death on it, you know, that gooey stuff. So I might have just lucked my way into a good engine. I'll take any thoughts anyone has. I always enjoy the comments, so please share them with me. And I want everybody to keep their feet down, their heads up, and I want you all to get out there and have a great day. No, you never know. Go out and buy a quad. Maybe you'll get a good one. Bye now.